My name is Neil Sharma. I'm an engineering program manager at Apple.
And I'm Parth, a software engineering intern at Tesla.
And today we have our special Augment Professional Talk series where we talk to various industry professionals in various companies around the world and kind of talk about their experiences at those companies. So today I'd like to introduce Tavishi.
Hi Neil. Hi Parth.
So Tavishi, can you just talk about a little bit about like what you do at Microsoft and how you kind of got to the position where you're at right now?
Yeah, for sure. So currently I'm a program manager at Microsoft. I started August 2019, so it's been about 9 months, not even a year. Before that, I graduated from Wisconsin-Madison with degrees in computer engineering and computer science. And how I got here is kind of interesting. So I actually interned at Microsoft as a program manager. This was my junior year. And I actually went in for an interview as a software engineer, and things went really well, but I had a bit of like startup experience previously, which I think made them think that I had a lot of breadth as well to like just engineering.
Right.
So I was asked to stay back an extra day and interview for program manager if I'd be willing to. And I had absolutely no clue what that was, but you stay back because they're like free hotel, free stay, skip school. But yeah, that's kind of how the journey started. I got through the PM program. I did have an offer from Qualcomm for like a research-based software engineering position because I was heavily into research. But PM was an interesting choice because I'd never heard of it that much, and Microsoft kind of sold it to me that it's just 3 months of your life. Give it a try. You're going to love it. And that's how my journey began with Microsoft, and I just came back as a full-time after that.
Very cool.
That's really interesting. So just to clarify, so you actually didn't have any, like other than the startup experience, I guess, you didn't have any actual program or product management experience. You were actually full into suite, and you were actually just able to land a PM role just through that experience alone.
Right. So the thing is, so I guess I should go back to my other internships because they were kind of like off as well. So freshman year, I interned with a makerspace. I'm from New Delhi, so I worked back home. It was a startup. I was their first ever intern. I kind of did like product design, come kind of engineering, come teaching, like building these pop-up engineering like schools for underprivileged. And then I got heavily into research. So I was heavily researching, through which my initial startup came out. But then that summer, I went and researched at Stanford. So I didn't have any specific, like, I didn't have a path, and I didn't necessarily just code. And I think that's why it was interesting to them to kind of put me in PM over engineering, because there was this, like, you don't have to just aim at doing PM or engineering to go get some experience that you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
So I just did what was fun, and that kind of landed up being in a realm that was more broad than just depth.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And like, I think everyone, they think it's always so linear, right? Like, okay, if you want to go into PM, there's like two routes. You can either transition from suite to PM or like just go from project to PM. But I think you're in a great example of how, it's not always linear, and, things from all different types of experience can kind of combine and make you a great product or program manager.
Exactly.
I think that kind of can also be applied to even software engineering, right? Like when you want to land a software engineering role in a very specific industry, you don't necessarily always, kind of have those previous experiences which get you in that specific industry. Let's say you want to do machine learning. It's not necessarily that you've worked in that space before. Sometimes, you do like side projects or you take steps in order to get there, but again, it's very non-linear. And, a lot of people have that mindset of, okay, I'm going to do these few steps, I'm going to get this. That's often how, like, things don't work out that way, so it depends.
Yeah, and to your point, like, I think it was like my first week as a full-time, and one of the recruiters at working that helped like sifting through resumes and calling people for interviews. So I went through a bunch of resumes, and one thing I realized was we weren't just picking people who had specific, like, oh, we need someone for machine learning, we need someone for like specifically these roles. We were picking people who showed potential. And you can show potential in so many ways. There's no one path. You just need to be passionate and do something that you enjoy, and it shows.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree too. And I think that's such an important thing. And I feel like especially for interns, they don't expect you to know everything, right? And I feel like the employer to some extent will have some trust that you will learn these things along the internship. And I know we talked about this before, but the times that I've learned the most, it's been through actually doing it in these internships. Like I didn't know about automation, about all these APIs and all this stuff beforehand, right? And I learned everything. And if you were to ask me in the interview, I wouldn't know what it is. But after the fact, after doing the job, you pick it up. So I feel like there's also some kind of level of, trust from the employer as well, especially at the intern level, that, as long as you show your passion, you're willing to learn about it, that's what's the most important. And I think that also was reflected in both parts in mine interviews as well, which made it successful,
Yeah, and one thing, Neil, you and I were talking about this earlier, is just being like going in, just being very like intentional about like the steps that you take as an intern, and having that open-mindedness to learn and grow. Because literally no one expects anything from you as an intern. They just expect you to be able to absorb and learn the company's motivations and learn what that company wants to do. And they hope that you align with it, right? So no one gives you an internship with the intention that, oh, we're not going to like give them full time. We're just going to like exploit the intern's time for 3 months, So it's like important to keep that in mind, because I do hear a lot of interns like psyching out about like, am I doing this right? Am I being okay? It's like 5 days in. They asked me to do this. I don't know how to do it. It's fine. Ask questions, research, learn, get feedback, repeat.
I absolutely love this, because this is a lot of the same advice my mentor and manager at Tesla have been giving me recently, because I think part of it is also because, I'm not there in person. So sometimes you don't know what the other person is thinking of you, and, you're writing code or you're doing something, and you're just like, I don't know if I'm going at the right pace. Is this how fast I should be doing this? I feel like everybody's just so smart around me. Like part of it is also imposter syndrome, So how do you like kind of think about putting all those things together, ground yourself in a sense where you're touching in and having that open communication with your manager and your peers, and then also, incorporating that into your daily work life?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Interestingly, before COVID hit, I'm on a team that's pretty much remote. So I was working with Volkswagen that are based in Germany, and then my other American counterparts are in the Midwest, and there's that me, lone child in PST time who has to wake up at 7 a.m.
Oh, man. It's the opposite for me.
Well, it's bad either way, to be honest. But I think like something that's super important is setting out, especially when you're an engineer, setting out some time to pair program, so you can kind of gauge your counterpart's pace, and you can keep like, you can check in, you can see how you're coding, you also become a bit accountable, and you also see like you trying to mingle with your colleagues. So it's a really productive way of checking in, learning, and like showing what you can do. It like hits a lot of things at once. But it's not, obviously you can't just pair program day in, day out. But I think, because on the Volkswagen project, it was a bit of a mix. So I did like Scrum Master, product ownership, but then I started developing. So I got like everything. And developing was interesting because, so for some context, I was on this project with basically people my dad's age. And then it was me. Like, I think the second oldest person was like 35 or over, like somewhere in their late 30s or mid 30s. So it can be challenging working with experienced engineers sometimes because you feel very insecure about your abilities.
Yeah.
But I think like one skill, I won't say skill, but one just like confidence boost that helped me, I just would go and ask. I would know they might be stupid questions to those engineers, but I would just like be really ballsy and be like, hey, I don't know if this needs to be secure or if we need like this kind of security or whatever. Can you teach me?
Yeah.
And usually, at least at Microsoft, people are so open to teach you. So no one's ever going to actually like judge you unless you come back and you're using like the wrong data structure or something. That's like too basic, you know? That's your fault at that point.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. And like going back on what you just touched, you know, about Microsoft and all that, like, you know, I know me and Parth, we've heard a lot of good things about Microsoft, especially when it comes to their work culture, right? So can you just touch on about like that and what you love about Microsoft specifically?
Yeah, for sure. I think, sorry, thought I heard something. Microsoft honestly generally has a really, really good culture for multiple reasons. The first thing is a growth mindset. Like we work on growth mindset, which means it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail and do something incorrectly, but learn from it. So you're not just penalized for not doing something right at the first go. You start being questioned if you keep repeating the mistake. So I think that's a really nice phrase and kind of philosophy everyone embodies in the company. It's not just like one person. And so that like allows you to like feel a little more comfortable. But the second thing is, I just told you about the Volkswagen project where I was the like youngest, and I was put in a position. It was a very, very challenging project that people who'd been in the industry for like 30 years were like, this is my worst project of my life kind of thing. And I was 3 months in, but the way everyone embraced me and I was given a voice. I wasn't like initially I felt like I wasn't heard, like I had opinions. I don't know if I'm like being too nitpicky or like if this is how, you know, you're like judging your surroundings. And I remember the like manager spoke to me and he said, I know you're young, I know you're new, but I really trust your opinion. Speak up. We need this. It's okay. And that had really helped me grow. Like 6 months, I was able to understand how to found like the operations of a project, how to be a product owner. Obviously, like this is, you know, you learn over multiple projects. I'm not like professional all of a sudden, but the fact that I can pick something on and be like, hey, yeah, I know how to break this down. I know how to assign things to people. And I know how to be a developer in that system as well. You know, those are just, I think Microsoft really created a culture where I felt comfortable, acknowledged, and heard. And thirdly, I think it's been like, I know like a lot of like in my women in tech groups, we talk about imposter syndrome or having sexist behavior in labs. And I used to not take that seriously till something like that happened to me in college. So I had like a big issue with my self-esteem in the middle. And I didn't know if I should be speaking out because of certain occurrences that happen in that realm. But I think coming to Microsoft, the way they embrace you and nurture you and push you, and I've been lucky with my manager too, it has really helped me like grow out of it in a lot of ways. So I think overall, they're so employee centric. Like you might not find your favorite like work there, but you will definitely find really great people and a great environment to learn.
That's awesome to hear.
I'm sorry, just give me 1 second.
No worries.
Yeah, my speaker is buzzing away. Go back.
All good.
No worries. Yeah, so I guess for like that's really cool. Like, I know we've heard a lot of cool things, and you know, me and Parth also have like a lot of really good friends in Microsoft. So I feel like just the nature, they tend to also attract a lot of like good-hearted people as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I guess for going back to now more of your position and kind of the field that you're in, what do you think? What do you think? Sort of obviously there can be very different perspectives and different viewpoints you can kind of tackle this at, but kind of in a general sense, how would you think someone can become a successful PM or a technical program manager like yourself? What are the kind of maybe the founding pillars to achieve that?
Right. So I think few things. So I have, I've not immediately known exactly what I was supposed to do, by the way, but I think the few things helped was my manager day one spoke to me about expectations to move on to the next level, to be promoted. And I didn't ask for it, but I think if you're in that position and can ask, it's a really helpful thing because it gives you a baseline understanding of, as a PM, what your expectations are. And that, I think, is the starting point to knowing what you need to build toward. So there were things like being able to, being able to get user feedback, being able to log what's happening, active communication between partners and industries. And there's so many pieces to PMing that I'm sure you can learn from a lot of blogs and just at the job. But I think biggest kind of unsaid rule, Neil, I was talking to you about this earlier, is learning how to negotiate with people and learning how to be in people's good books, not because you just have to be in the good books, but for the right reason.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, for example, in a Volkswagen project, there was certain, things get heated up sometimes if it's a very complex project. And the only person who wasn't in the middle of that or was part of the heated complications was me. And the reason for that is, and I got feedback on this, that's how it hit me that I was interacting in a certain way, is that when you talk to an engineer, you cannot just tell them what to do. You're not their boss, you're a team.
Yeah.
Collaborate with them, learn what they need. When you're with the customer, they will have high expectations because they don't know what the engineer can do. Learn to negotiate with them.
Right.
And learn to communicate that. If the engineer is mad at the customer and customer is mad at the engineer, that's where you come in.
Yep.
Right. So obviously I've also had a lot of help. It's not just me in that process, but I think learning those negotiating skills, when to hold back, when to, put your foot down, when to speak up for your team, because that's very important if you're a team player. So I think those skills weren't they told me you'll have to negotiate, but no one told me what that meant. So I think those are the few things I learned on the job. I did a few of those with the engineers, but also learning from my peers who were more experienced in how they spoke to the customer. You just have to be aware of that skill and try to absorb that and learn from your peers at that point.
Yeah, I completely
for
agree.
sure.
So I'm actually also a part-time PM at a startup, and over there we actually have a lot of we have a few different teams. We have UI UX, we have machine learning, and we have back as well as iOS. So now the goal is how do you kind of put all these teams together? So the product hasn't launched yet. We're a very early stage company.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of go about putting all these teams together, and how do you sort of bring everyone to the same page and make sure that everyone works cohesively? And I think for me the biggest one has been I think coming from an engineering background, I've been able to empathize a lot with the engineering, and so understand the requirements that they need. And if they're saying, okay, this is going to take this long, I know if I were to do it myself, how long it would take. Are you sure you could do it this fast? That seems like a very ambitious timeline. We can push this out further.
Right.
So I think gaining that trust of the engineers and being able to really guide them in the right direction from a more user and product perspective, I think super important, which you touched on.
Yeah, and I think one last thing of that is you're absolutely right. Anyone who PMs will see those problems once you get in. But I think it's also super important to be approachable, because a lot of times people can be intimidating, or there can be new people on the team and they don't know where to go, and engineers aren't always the best at like no one's mean, but you just have to explicitly try to be inclusive, when someone's new.
Yeah.
So I think just keeping yourself open and making sure people know that, hey, you want to talk, or checking in with people. It just is nice, like, not just for yourself, like, you also have this, like, backing then,
Yeah.
but just to, like, make everyone comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, you're already so knowledgeable in product management, and, like, it seems like you're doing such a great job, and I know you're doing such a great job by, the things that I'm hearing. So, I know we spoke about this before, but you have plans to transition back to an engineering role.
Yes.
So, which is really interesting because, we always talk about, the transition from engineering to product management or program management, but now you want to go back to an engineering role. So can you kind of, walk through us, like, why you want to do that and your mindset about that?
Yeah, so little bit of backstory. I actually got my full-time offer as a software engineer, but there was some mishaps, so 8 months later it was switched to PM.
Oh.
So I kind of went into PM, not by choice immediately, but it's been great. Like, honestly, great time for a year. I think I just really like building products, and I really want to like learn and absorb technology, which I wasn't getting as a PM that much. You become so high level sometimes, like, you coordinate, you know what people are working on, but you don't necessarily know what that actually entails after a point. And I think that's perfectly fine when you're like a couple years into your career, you want to code, you already know all the stacks and stuff. But I think it's really important for me to know my tech stacks, because in the future, I do hope to be, like, have my own companies and be able to be like a CTO or a CEO or like those kind of positions,
Right.
I'm not someone who's aiming for COO in any way or CFO. Like, those positions don't excite me. So when I'm working with that angle in mind, it's just important for me to be part of the technology and be an engineer. And for now, and I was like talking about this earlier. So on the side, I'm also working on a startup called Samply. It's a audio workflow tool for music producers, and there I'm doing, like, I just started there, like, on the side, but there I'm doing a lot of, like, building out the Scrum mannerisms and making sure philosophies are right, building out the, like, structure, because it's just the founders and me. So I think, like, it's a lot more fun to do that PM stuff in a startup where it's like just you building that out, and you're like building that culture with some people who are like talented, in a place like Microsoft, it's great, but I feel really small. Like, I feel like a small thing in, like, a large, like, environment. And a large reason for me, like, being at a big company and stuff is a lot to do with I'm on a visa, so you've got to, like, look at stability. Not saying Microsoft isn't good, but it's just, I think my ambitions are less climb ladder, more build your own thing. So I'm just trying to learn the things that are important to me while I'm at this job, but also trying to make sure the things that are cool and I enjoy doing, I can do in some other form that the government might not allow full time.
Yeah. No, like, even I was talking to Parth the other day, right? And even he was, you can talk about this more, Parth, in detail, but even he's very conflicted on whether he wants to transition to PM as well, because, he likes the software engineering aspect so much. And, he was always talking about transitioning, but now, after working at Tesla for a few weeks, he's on the fence about it as well. So, it's really cool to get these different perspectives. I can look forward to talk about that more.
Yeah, sure. So basically, actually, I was talking to my manager today about this as well, like, literally the same thing. Because I was like, see, for me, I enjoyed PM a lot, coming in from high school. Neil and I actually were pretty similar background. We pretty much switched into going into engineering at, like, the last minute. We had kind of engineering mindsets, but we switched in pretty late. We've been like Zafta Boys throughout, like
Right.
which is a business competition here in Canada and the States. So we've always had kind of a business thinking, that startup sort of mindset going throughout everything. And even at Augment, we literally run Augment like a startup. We have our own Trello boards where we have like, ethics that we follow. It's really cool. But even at Personify, it's very hands-on type of PM. So now I'm kind of conflicted because every single day at Tesla, I'm learning something new in terms of software engineering. And, I'm getting to build awesome products which impact the world in terms of clean energy, which is like which is a place that I really, really wanted to work at, and that's kind of also why I got into engineering, which was being able to create that environmental impact and have a net positive in my time, on the circuit.
Right.
So now I'm thinking, like if I do switch into product management, what's my purpose? And even once I do switch in, like what am I really getting out of this role as an intern, which will help build me my skills to either have my own startups in the future or just be able to manage other teams. Or I think like I think I'm going to force myself to at least do one product internship, even if I don't end up going into it, just because I feel it makes you a better engineer. Because in product, you think so much about the user and how you can bring value to the business. If you as an engineer understand the product and the user, you as an engineer are inherently building better products, and the business logic you write is better. The testing that you do is better. Every single thing you do is meant for you. And I think that's like that's an ideology which Tesla uses a lot, because every single engineer has that sort of ownership of writing code for pretty much themselves because they're also users.
Right.
So like I'm currently at the standpoint where I don't exactly know what I want to do for my next few internships. I have 3 left, and I guess we'll see. I'm still on the fence, still deciding. Yeah.
Honestly, just give it a shot. I will say, I didn't completely. So at Microsoft, what my team does, it's an external facing team, and we go travel a lot, work with customers and partners. So we'll work. I'm in the automotive team, so Tesla might actually be. Yeah, I think we have a project with Tesla. I'm not sure right now, but we work with all these different companies, but we do very short projects. So we're not consultants. We don't get commission. We don't build for you, but we code with engineers. So what that allows me to do, because the projects are scoped down, it's like a little startup each time with each like company, So I was able to take this like chunk of a project and do PM, get all the skills I needed, and like switch back into engineering back and forth, because everyone
really
knew my
cool.
intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you've got to make that happen for yourself. It's not normal.
Yeah.
It takes a supportive manager, supportive group, you showing your skills. Like, it's not just easy, but it's possible. So if you can find those, like, make your intentions very clear that you want to get some PM experience, but you love development and you want to learn the tech stack. And let your mentors guide you who can do something and find projects for you that might fit your interests.
So
because just be intentional, though. You need to like make sure they know your goals.
Right. From like a follow-up question from that, I guess. Do you think that would be better to approach from like a software engineering internship, or like a software engineering standpoint where you're taking on PM projects, or would it be better to approach them as a PM project and then jump on that?
Honestly, I think either way might be fine. Like, I definitely approached from PM and then jumped a bit. But in that PMing was more, engineering was less. If you jump from an engineering side, I can't imagine. Like, maybe you should actually try it from PM side now that I'm thinking this through more. Because, like, if you're an engineer...
It also...
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I feel it also depends on, like, I feel like the company too and how strict the roles actually are. Because I know sometimes you could step on some toes and then it could create like conflict, because regardless, whether you like it or not, company politics do come into play a lot of the times, right? Especially the bigger the company is, right? Yeah. So that is also one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So as like Neil, I think you're very right. Just figure out like what the next goal is. You don't need to know your life's goal.
Mm-hmm.
Just figure out like the next like year's goal or 3 years goal, you know, and go talk to your mentor, talk to your manager who can actually like put you in positions to do work you'd like, and let the conversation flow from them, because that's what it's been like 9 months where I've been very clear I want to move into engineering, but I will embrace PM, and my manager has been very, very aware, and it has it's been a little hard because there's a lot of like proving out you have to do in both ways. Because you have to do well at your day job, but you're also trying to like prove yourself out separately.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have to do that if you're trying to like do the whole, you know, all stacks and then PM. Yeah.
Master of all.
Yeah. It's like, not a jack of all trades, just master of
just
all.
master of all.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, I think that's like something that I even had trouble with. Like, it's because like, you feel like it's so hard to keep up with everyone. like,
right.
Like, there's so many things to learn out there. And it's like, how can I learn all of this in such short time so I can land an internship at this place for this role? But, like, I also want to try this role, right? And I feel like it's very overwhelming for, like, students, especially because, you know, we're just getting our careers started. So I guess I'll just transition to the last question. But related to that point, and maybe just in general, like, is there anything that you could recommend, like maybe just like, you know, general synopsis, just maybe a few points. Is there anything you would recommend to like students like Parth and I who are like in university, who want to intern at places like Microsoft, maybe don't know exactly where they want to go yet, but is there anything like for them that, you know, that you can help, that you can kind of give that can help build their career and kind of put them on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, I personally did a lot of research in school, and that really opened up my mind and doors to a lot of things. So that is the path I took. But you can go work on like startups on campus, like wherever you are. I know some universities have really good clubs that are actually like building products out. So I think the first thing you need to ask yourself is to figure out like, okay, am I aiming industry or research? I didn't have it clear, so I'm not saying you need to have it. That's why I did everything. But if you have that clarity, you can like choose a direction more easily. And I think the biggest thing is like keep your eyes open. Opportunities come by everyone's way. You're in school, you will hear about your friends working on projects, your teachers doing some research, or you will hear about some startup came talk to your people, or go to your, like I know colleges have, when they're testing out professors, they have like college lectures. Go to those new lectures, learn about new like research in the spot, and let yourself keep expanding and absorbing that. And as soon as something seems like it's kind of cool, take the moment to talk to those people. It's okay if nothing comes out of it. You have nothing to lose. But take that initiative to go talk to those people, because more often than not, something hits you all of a sudden and you're like, okay, this seems good. And then you'll know like the next step for yourself. But I think it's hard. It's not easy. Like I think just a couple months ago, I was still completely shocked that, oh, am I going for my PhD or should I do this company and startups? Like, what's my passion? And it's like this turmoil that you hit. And a lot of people don't talk about, but the hardest transition is not high school to college. The hardest transition is college to adulthood.
Yep.
That was hard, you know?
Yeah, I know. It feels like life just keeps getting harder and harder, to be honest.
Yeah, but it gets really good too. Like as soon as you allow yourself to like absorb, feel uncomfortable. It's not going to be good if you're trying to aim for something big. Feel uncomfortable, accept it, allow it to sink in, and then, when something hits, like take the plunge and talk to people, get mentors.
Yeah, be comfortable with discomfort. That's what they say, right?
It's hard. It's not easy, but it's very, very fruitful.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, awesome. So yeah, that's been it. Thank you so much for taking the time out to kind of give these insights. This is like one of our most popular series. So we're really glad that you were able to be on it and that you were able to give such great insights. So I'll also link the startup that you're working on, which is like really cool, and I'll link that in the description as well as your LinkedIn. And for the viewers right now, you also offer a lot of like mentoring and just like free advice that you can basically just give out through your Calendly. So I'll also link your Calendly in the description as well, so people can sign up.
Yeah, and thank you both of you. You've been great interviewers.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We tried. It was more of a conversation than an interview, but